Hey, everyone. I decided to put a center diff inside my Nitro and my XL Flux truck just to see how it would perform. The center diff will fit in all Savage transmission case. So I'm gonna bring you through a little search and a little information on the center diff and show you how you could convert the regular diff that's in your front and rear bulkhead with parts to make a center diff. You need two additional part numbers, and I'll show you what they are. But let me show you a truck that HPI had in 2012, I think, that had a center diff inside of it. So it's called the Super Flux, the 5SC Super Flux. So if you go to cars, then go to discontinued kits, because it's not made anymore, it will bring you to this page, and it's the first truck that comes up, Super 5SC Flux. It's basically a fifth scale with a Savage XL or X HP power system in it. So it's a 6S. So if you go here and you go to standard parts and you go down to the gears, you'll see this gear here. It's a 32 tooth gear, mod 1. This fits on the center diff, but the center diff requires a holder, which is this guy here, and the holder is not in the pictures, but you could find it by going to downloads, or you could just go directly to the exploded view page. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the manual and then scroll all the way down. The Superflux have two key design attributes that I like. The center diff being one of them. So okay, so this is the diff, right? So front and rear diff, you know how that works, right? You have a cup on one side, two shims, regular internal worm gears, and then the crown gear, and it's the same for front and rear. I mean, it's a modular design. And then underneath that, you see this little box, air section called a center diff. So this center diff is inside the transmission in the Super Flux. Now I'm going to zoom in and just to show you what parts are similar. Obviously, the first difference is the drive shaft. This doesn't go out to a wheel, so you have no cups, so that's not there. There's no bearing support because it uses the bearing from the housing on the shaft or the tranny case. But the diff cup is the same part number, 86827. This guy. All the internals are the same. All the internals, I won't go through all of them, but they are all the same. The internals are all the same, even the gasket, O-ring. The other difference is the crown gear. Obviously, if it's a center diff, you won't have a bevel gear on there. So that's replaced by the regular spur that I showed you earlier. But it's attached, I'm going to call this a gear holder. There's no name for it. And then again, we needed two of these 106279. So all you have to do is procure these shafts here and a gear holder which is not in production anymore. This is not being made or supplied by HPI anymore. This gear is actually available on eBay or other places, so it's still being made. And then here you could see I have all the other components to make the center diff from my regular wheel diff. I decided to go with 100,000 centistoke fluid, and the reason why I decided to do that is because if I go back to Vorza has a center diff. For some reason, the instruction manual for the 5SC does not tell you what viscosity silicone oil to use in the 6S system. So I went to Vorza for a baseline and pull up a Vorza truck, downloads, go to the manual again, find the diff page, the page for the spec on the Vorza. It should have the weight class for the diff as well. Shocks, diffs, silicone oil. Setup for Vorza. Let's zoom into that. 5,000 on the front, 5,000 in the rear. Center diff takes 100,000. So I'm going to use some TLR, very thick, very thick fluid for the center diff. I'm going to use that for my first trial. See how it works. Now, as I said before, I'm going to run this inside the transmission of the flux and the nitro. I'm going to try the nitro first. One good thing about the 5SC, I hinted earlier, I'll go back and show it to you. So go back to the, let's see. Oh yeah, let's go to the exploded view. So this is the exploded view for the 5SC. Again, it's basically these longer TVPs with longer bones, same bulkheads as Savage. So it's basically a fifth scale with eighth scale components. Now, this is the interesting part right here. Again, I'm gonna zoom in and slide over so you could see. This is a transmission. You could recognize the transmission case. It's the old V1 design with the top place with three-piece design. So this is your stock V1, not Savage 25, but all these components could be packed in there as well. But pay attention to the slipper clutch arrangement and also where they place the spring. The spring is just taking the compression load as you torque the nut on, but we have one slipper pad here in front of the gear, the spur gear, and another slipper pad on the rear of the spur gear. So it's a double slipper pad design. Unlike Flux HP, when HPI moved to the Flux XL, they kept this arrangement. It has a double slipper pad up top, but it did not carry over the center diff, as you see here inside the Flux SC. So the Flux SC has three different slip joints, one in the front, one in the rear of the spur, and a center diff that allows for some slip. So this design is robust against impulse loads from the motor and instantaneous shock from landing. You have a lot of slip points, especially for the truck that's so heavy. So what I'm going to do in my experiment, I'm going to build up the center diff as I showed you here with the components I have, just by swapping out the shafts and the gear holder and the gear. I'm going to try it in my Savage Nitros and also in my Flux. So that's what I'm going to do. Many of you guys probably know how to build the diff already, but I'm just going to show you how I put it together for the first time. Move the camera down like so. So those are the parts I have. We have the diff cup, the new part, as I said, I'm gonna call it diff, the gear holder, gasket, washers, your internal gears, the idle gear, the square plates, 2 pins, and the screws. So that's all you need. So the first thing I do, it's a used diff, so there's a bit of oil in there. So first time I'm doing this, taking out the shafts. I'm gonna give you the part number real quick here real soon. Part number is HPI 106277. So if I go by the exploded view, shaft, cup, like so, O-ring, and it seemed like the shaft is symmetric. You could orient them in any direction at this point. O-ring is in there, and after O-ring, we put the big washers in all the way down, and then you put a pin in. There you go. I'll center that pin. There we go. Then put one of these bigger bevel gears in. It's in there like so. Nice. Set that to the side. Then you get the cross axles that facing each other. This. Then a washer disc on both sides, and then these flat thrust washers. So you want the flat side to be towards the diff, right? The diff case to the wall, right? So you put the rounded side on the inside. Now what you want to do, if you notice, the hole is not centered in the middle of this plate. You want it to be oriented this way, where the hole closer to the edge side is pointing downwards, and it's the same for both diffs, for both worm gears. So you put that in. And then it's in there, and then you want the flat side of the axle pointing up, because that would lock in the other pair of gears you're going to put in. So other axle face each other, just like the first one we did. Then a round washer, then flat disc, rounded side pointing inside, flat side oriented outside. Same thing. Have the the leading edge closer to the edge pointing downwards. Then we put that in. And the top axle is oriented with its notch downward, so they kind of lock in each other. So they are inside there. See, it's nice, it's turning. That's good, it's a good sign. Set that to the side there. Next thing up is to install the other side, which is in the gear holder. So we get axle number 2 through here. Same thing, we put an O-ring on, O-ring, and then washer disc, and then pin. Like so. This gear will obviously go like this. It's a bevel gear. At this point, I'm going to start. Now I'm gonna have to have something to hold this into. Let's see what I got. Haha, engineer, there we go. Look at that, perfect, perfect, improvise. All right, so I'm gonna pour in my diff fluid. This thing is, oops, this thing is thick. You don't want to fill it up too much. So I'm gonna let that sit for a while, pause the video, and then return once it's settled and filled to the right level. Okay, I think it's all settled now. There we go. It's zooming in. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this up real quick for you guys. So gasket next. So what I like to do is just to place, you know, the gear, top gear inside there, so it gives you a good gauge to see when it's fully seated if you will have an overflow. So I'll show you here real quick. Put the gear in, there is no overflow. It's right at the right level. So when I put the pin and the other assembly on top here, it will not squeeze out and get into the screw holes, and then it would compromise your bolted joint, okay? So put the gasket aligned. Need to buy a diff rebuild station or something like that, because this is very crude. Then bring the upper assembly in. Then you want to put these 4 screws in to hold in the diff case. These are M2.6s, I think. Oh, not quite M3s. But they take a 2mm driver. Once I get 2 of them in there, I can just take it out of the water bottle fixture. So again, pardon me for my, my fixture in here, but hey, sometimes you have to do what you have to do. Get that out of the way. Also, title cross pattern. And you tight, check all 4. There you go. Ooh, nice. Let's check it. It's turning nice and smooth. You could feel the thick fluid, its resistance. Also, you're going to check for play. You don't want, I think from what I've seen here, it's like I want to say 0.5mm of play, a little bit, not much. The last step now is to put the gear on. So gear goes on, put these screws in. These are 2.5s, so 2.5. One. Tight. Tight. And the last 2. And guys, there you have it. Let's do this one. The pick. Nice. Nice. You have a center diff. 4-year Savage Nitro. Converting your center, your wheel diff with parts you have. Just get the gear holder and the gear. As I said before, the gear is available. The gear holder is not. It's anodized 6061. I'm working with one guy on the site to see if he could take up the opportunity of making these. I was going to give it to FLM, but they have a lot of stuff going on right now, so I think it's fair to give this one to someone else. I have already made the CAD designs, so I could show that real quick. Where my mouse go? Here. So I've made the design today. I made the design today. So I sent it out to the person. He knows himself, and yeah, he's going to look at what it will take to make these, and then it could be used again to source your gears, source your shafts. These are available, and then you'd have the opportunity to make a center diff for your truck. Okay, all right, that's all.